Hey folks, it's Ardwulf. Welcome. Today we're going to do an unboxing of a game that I had been looking forward to, and it was kind of a while in the pipeline, and I did not pick it up when it came out, but big shout out to the designer Gregory M. Smith, who was kind enough to give me a copy of Western Front Ace, the Great War in the Air, 1916-1918. This took a while because, frankly, there's a crap ton of content in it. So let's open her up and take a look. It is a 2-inch standard Compass Games box, but it is pretty heavy, so I'm not sure what's up with that, but we're going to find out in just a second. So let's look. This is, I believe, a 2023 release. I believe it came out earlier this year. If not, it came out quite late last year. So let's open her up. Credits on this is Greg Smith and Ian Cooper, by the way. So first thing we notice is a bag of baggies. We will find a use for those. Here are 4 dice, 2 white and 2 black, 1 D20, 1 D10, and 2 D6. Greg has been known to use dice that aren't D6s or D10s, and there's not many board game designers doing that nowadays. We do have some cards. This looks at a glance as though this is about 60 or 70 cards. So let's first of all, wow. Okay, so we'll show this in a minute. So the first thing we get under that is Western Front Ace clarifications. This is a one-page thin paper sheet. Component list. These, by the way, are the Ace Pilot cards, and they are double-sided. That's the first clarification. Counter sheets. The planes that are split across 2 counters were done by the artist to represent the historical size of these larger planes that are not intended to be used in the game. That's interesting. We'll have to take a look at that. I'm not sure what that means. All right, and there's a bunch of stuff on here, but there's not that much stuff on here. Let me put it that way. All right, so rules of play. This is a solitaire game. And the rule book looks like pretty standard Compass Games thing. This is 40 pages on fairly glossy paper. Rule book's obviously full color. There is an index on the back. You know, it's hard to tell how good the index is off the top of, just looking at it until you start trying to actually look stuff up. But on a glance, it kind of looks above average. So, looking at the book, fairly large print, 2 columns, fairly small margins, good use of illustrations, again, at a glance. The reason why, I think the reason why, I didn't ask Greg this, I think the reason why that this took a while is just because there's a crap ton of stuff, especially like different planes, which we will see in a moment. There is no mounted board in here or anything. We will see in a moment why the box is so heavy and why I went, oh boy, when I opened it and pulled the stuff out. All right, so we have a Western Front Ace sortie log. This is problematic. So there's a whole pad of sheets here, and it is great that there are sheets and there is a whole pad on them. However, this is glossy paper, and you are probably, I'm guessing here, I could be wrong, and if anyone would like to correct me, please do in the comments below. At a glance, this is glossy paper, and you're going to have trouble writing on it with pencil, and pen might smear. And on the back, you've got more sortie log. Other than that, I do appreciate that that's here. And you know, when I said there wasn't a mounted map or board in here, I was incorrect. There are, in fact, 2 8.5 by 11 mounted boards in here. Now, they're small, but they are nevertheless mounted. So we're calling these mounted. They're quite nice, and they show, here's the Italian front down here. These double-sided, the backs feel pretty good too. And here you have the Western front. So we've got the Western front and the Italian front. Do we have Italian front Ace here? What's going on? Looks pretty nice. And you can see, kind of thing to plan sorties out on. This looks really interesting and promising. All right, counter sheet. I'm going to have to open this because there are 2 counter sheets. So let's do that. Preferably without wrecking anything. That'd be cool. As usual, Compass has been... Ooh, that's interesting. Compass has been shrink wrapping their counter sheets because the die cutting is very good, and the counters come out very easily, but they tend to come out unasked. Let me put it that way. So what we have here are 2 counter sheets of basically 9/16 inch counters. Not basically, they're 9/16 inch counters. and a really nice feeling matte finish. I really like that. Now here's the aircraft that they were talking about that are spread over two different counters. So this is a little weird, but it's kind of neat. I mean, these are larger aircraft. So what the artist has done is they've chosen to show you how big the aircraft are by showing you that. But the actual counter for this aircraft is right here. So you're not like flying a counter around the map with half an aircraft or anything like that. You do get actual counters for that. And there's a number of different planes like that. Now, off the top of my head, it looks like Allied planes are in this sort of cream, and Central Powers planes are in this sort of light gray. There's a whole sheet of markers here as well, presumably to mark your character's progress. Have a number of different nationalities. That's kind of cool. And here's some counters to mark different statuses. These counters feel really nice, I gotta tell you. Registration looks very close, but I am not seeing anything cut off or even super duper close to being cut off. So I think the brave individual that put gutters on these this small, I think that's kind of paid off, actually. So 2 full counter sheets of 9/16" counters. Now here's the giant wad of, there is a good 5/8 to 3/4 of an inch here of aircraft cards. So I am not an expert on World War I aircraft by any possible definition. So let's open her up and see what we get. And we're probably going to buzz through them relatively quickly. And these are kind of banded together. I don't know if it's better to do that or shrink wrap them or what. All right, so the SE5, and there's little images, and there's a bunch of status displays on here for this particular aircraft. Here's an SE5A. So there's different aircraft on the back. Airco DH2, Airco FE8, Sopwith 1.5 Strutter, Sopwith Camel, classic World War I British plane. Albatross D2, Albatross D3, Albatross D3. What's the difference? One's red and one's not. Well, this one's available 1916 and this one's available 1917. So presumably they are different. I don't see that difference off the top of my head, but that's going to require additional study. There's the Fokker DR-1, another classic World War I plane. Here's a Pfalz D-12. Oh, cool. A2 pilot status for the Americans with the little uniform. You can pin the medals on them and stuff. That's neat. Here's the Italian uniform. That's rather threadbare looking Italian uniform. Here is a British uniform. That's a very good posture on the part of the mannequin there. Here is a Royal Naval Air Service uniform. That's pretty cool as well. All right, so more planes. We got a Newport 11, Newport 23. We got a SPAD S7 and a SPAD S13. We got a Hanrio, probably saying that wrong, HD1. And Phoenix D1, Aviatic D1, and Hansa Brandenburg D1. So you can see, I think, I am less than a quarter of the way through this pile of cards. So you can see how many different balls are in the air here. As far as things that have to be balanced and stuff like that. There's just a ton of different aircraft. And I saw this years ago, right, at Compass Expo, 5 years ago. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of planes. And here they are. Here's the Fokker D7, Fokker D8, Fokker D3, Halberstadt D2, Albatross D1, Albatross D2, Pfalz D3, Pfalz D3A. I didn't know there was a difference. Here's the Newport 17. Here's the SPAD S7, a different one. Here's the Sopwith Dolphin. And here's the Sopwith Snipe. A lot of different planes. Airco DH5. BE12. There's a different Sopwith Camel, and here's a Sopwith Pup. All right, so we are now into some reference cards. So here we have an A3 encounter chart. So this is, one of the things that the game is going to run off of, and this is going to tell you what you have encountered on your mission. both of these, actually. So those are, we'll put those in a separate pile, but those are going in there too. And here's a B10 two-seater mat. Miscellaneous die rolls. Interesting. Not found on charts. Interesting. That's interesting. Okay. So this looks intriguing as well. Put that separately. Here's a Bristol Fighter F2A, Bristol Fighter F2B, Newport 17, Newport 23. A lot of different versions of all the different planes. Here's the Sopwith 1.5 Strutter and the Sopwith Triplane. Here's the Newport 27 and the Spad S13. More player aid cards with British Empire pilot name chart. That's pretty awesome. You can generate your names randomly. Looks like the first name and last name. There's one for the British, one for the United States, one for the French, one for the Belgians, one for the Italians, and presumably here's one for the Germans, indeed, and the Austro-Hungarians. Kind of cool. On the back of this, we have S5 Victory Location Generator. That's kind of interesting. Okay. S3 Squadron Assignments. So this will happen when you generate your missions, presumably. More of these. These are again, they're pretty heavy cards. Allied Airfield Location Generator. Okay, and the Allied S3 Squadron Assignment. Okay, S3 I think is the chart number. So here's the Newport 24 BIS. Here's the Newport 28. Henrio HD1, Newport 11, Spad S7, Spad S13, Spad S12, Spad S13. Here is F3 flight training, flight school training. This is pretty cool. C3. Here's some random events. Yeah, so like C1, W1. Those look like the chart number. Here's aircraft damage listings and skill effects listings. So I'm gonna like sort these cards out because there's like these like pilot status cards and the plane status cards, and then there were reference cards that you're using to play the game. So here's a Belgian pilot's card, and here's a French pilot card. It's a very French-looking uniform. Here is the German pilot status card. That's a snappy-looking uniform too. I think we will agree. Here's the Austro-Hungarian, which is a slightly less snappy-looking uniform. More planes. Newport 17, Newport 24 BIS, 27, Spad S7, Newport 21. Yeah, there's like just a ton of planes here. This is a huge chunk of those cards, and of them, the planes themselves represent a large number of those cards. So there's a lot going on here in Western Front Ace. Storage shouldn't be a problem. So if we put all of the stuff back into the box, except the counter sheets, well, we'll see in a second here. Can we get a counter sheet in here with the cards? It doesn't look like that's the case. So you're going to have to be a little bit creative on that. However, I think this may be a game that lends itself to just being stored in baggies. I think that might end up being fine. So we have here a, let's call it a narrative forward solitaire game, Western Front Ace, about World War I air combat from the maestro of this type of game, Greg Smith, and his co-designer Ian Cooper. And once again, thanks Greg for shooting this my way. I got to meet and talk with Greg at Compass Expo, and our interactions have never been anything less than 100% delightful. So thanks Greg. Thank you for watching, and until next time, happy wargaming.